your forecast first. Sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Well, we had another beautiful day across central Illinois, and now tonight we've got some clouds that are moving in here from the south. As you can see, those clouds won't be around too much tomorrow. We're expecting another day of a lot of sunshine. Let's take a look at temperatures here. Well, we're back down to the mid and upper 30s, 35 Champaign, 38 in Effingham. We're going to go right back into the 50s again tomorrow, but it's going to get windy once again. Starting out into the low 30s at the bus stop for the kids, and sunshine and low and mid 50s all the way home. All right, we're going to come back and talk about winds and when some rain can move in. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now from WCIA 3 News.
We're learning more about the 3 who died in a plane crash yesterday, what the family of one of the victims had to say.
I don't think it's going to really hurt the industry.
The coronavirus has some concern when it comes to taking trips, why travel agents say don't sweat it.
Some lawmakers are trying to make your prescription drugs cheaper. What stopped their plan in its tracks?
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
Federal investigators say it could take up to a year and a half to determine what caused a plane crash that killed 3 people in Logan County. Good evening, I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jessica Coons. An investigator from the National Transportation Safety Board was in the area today working on that investigation. We also learned today the victims are 30-year-old Kevin Chapman of Urbana, 22-year-old Mitchell Jansen of Princeville, and 33-year-old Matthew Hansen of Pulaski, Wisconsin. They all died at the scene. The plane erupted into flames when it hit the ground on I-55 near Lincoln. WCIA 3's Jennifer Jensen is live in our newsroom tonight. Jennifer, you spoke with Chapman's family, and they have a message to share with people tonight.
Jessica, I spoke with his parents and older brother on the phone today, and they say, quote, Kevin had a wonderfully absurd sense of humor. He was very caring. The world is worse off without him. He will be deeply missed, end quote. Chapman moved to Urbana in 2002 with his parents. He was a graduate of Urbana High School in 2008, and he graduated college from Southern Illinois University. He went on to get a master's degree from Utah State and became an environmental biologist. He and Matthew Hansen were the passengers on that plane. Mitchell Jansen was the pilot. He was most recently a pilot for an airline under United. Peoria County Coroner Jamie Harwood went to school with Mitch's parents, and he says he was a bright light in the Princeville community and someone people looked up to. The Chapman family would not say why Kevin Chapman was on that flight. In the newsroom, I'm Jennifer Jensen, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
Jennifer, thank you for that update. Here's some more information about the plane. It crashed after taking off from Central Illinois Regional Airport in Bloomington. It's pictured on the Facebook page for Synergy Flight Center in Bloomington. Synergy offers charter services, maintenance, and flight training. The pilot of the flight, Mitchell Jansen, completed his first solo flight at age 16 in the Cessna that crashed yesterday in July 2014. Synergy has not returned our request for comment.
Getting a rolled over cement truck back on its wheels took a lot of work and time today. Now, all of that happened at the intersection of Kirby and 4th before 9 this morning in Champaign. Crews tried for hours to get the truck upright. Police say it tipped over while turning. The driver's okay, no one else was hurt, but the truck was fully loaded when it toppled.
With the truck and the concrete that's in the drum, it's about 65,000 pounds. There's 20,000 in the drum. The way I understand, the load shifted on the guy and he went over.
Crews finally got it upright, but the cement hardened. The drum had to be taken off the truck and put on a semi to be hauled off. Here's a WCIA 3 follow-up. We told you in January, small town fire department put out a plea on social media for volunteers. Since our first story, they've gotten a lot of response, but not a lot of results. WCIA 3's Emily BRAUN joins us now. So, Emily, what has happened since then?
Well, Paul, the post was seen by more than 15,000 people and shared about 75 times. And the fire chief told me our story helped with that. 2 people responded and started the process to become a member since then, but that only offset the recent loss of 2 previous members of the department. So the bottom line is they still have 6 volunteer positions they need to fill back at square one. They said it's been a big challenge to find people who meet the requirements, the biggest of those obstacles being the time commitment and boundary limits. The positions are for firefighters/EMTs, and the Fire Protection District is now saying even if you just want to be an EMT, they want you to consider this since that is the majority of their calls. And this problem is, of course, not unique to Harristown. This is an issue with many small-town fire departments, not just in central Illinois, but around the country. The Harristown fire chief told me if a department is understaffed, that means longer response times for emergencies because people from other towns' departments might need to be called in. Paul?
Definitely a tough situation. Emily, thanks for that update. Now, if you are interested in becoming a volunteer with the Harristown Fire Protection District, all training and equipment will be provided. You can call the station at that number. It's on your screen, 217-423-2912. Or you can stop by any Tuesday from 9 a.m. to noon or 6 p.m. to 9.
The coronavirus is making some people in Champaign County think twice about travel plans. In the meantime, travel agents in the area are trying to plan ahead. Employees at Anywhere Anytime Journeys in Rantoul say a couple of people headed to the most deeply affected areas did cancel their trips, but they say bookings are still on track for this time of year. They're actually more concerned about this summer because as the number of cases ramps up in the next few months, it might cause a drop in summer vacation bookings. So they're making sure their customers know everything they need to know before making arrangements.
But I don't think it's going to really hurt the industry. I just think it's, it's one of those things, it's part of the storm. You just kind of go with it.
He says the first thing he does with his clients who are worried about coronavirus is hand them this fact sheet from the CDC, and from there they discuss options. Now, it can be easy to feel overwhelmed by all of the information surrounding coronavirus, so we decided to challenge some of the things people are often confused about. We talked to an infection preventionist at Carl. One of the first questions was about wearing masks and how effective those are. She says they should really only be worn by people who have symptoms of the virus. Experts also agree that hand sanitizer is effective for prevention, but the best thing to do is wash your hands. And luckily, everyone we talked to today heard that message loud and clear.
Okay, well, I sort of listened to the general requirements like on the CDC about basically washing your hands for at least 2 happy birthdays.
I kept seeing several different sources saying that washing your hands is actually better than wearing the mask.
Here's something else important to consider. Experts say about 80% of coronavirus cases are mild. New for you tonight, some Illinois lawmakers are trying to lower your prescription drug prices, but they're going back to the drawing board after their plan stalled today.
Yeah, a House committee debated one plan to investigate drug companies to learn why they raise prices, but that idea fell short and didn't pass. Our Capitol Bureau Chief, Mark Maxwell, is live in Springfield tonight. So, Mark, this is an issue getting a lot of attention at both the state and national level.
Paul, it's a problem that affects a lot of people, so that's often where you see politicians migrate, trying to find solutions. We expect to see a lot of discussion about this rising trend of expensive drugs in the race for president and perhaps ideas from candidates who are running from Congress, as much of these things happen at the national level. But the state can tackle the rising cost of drugs, too. So remember, just last year, Illinois capped the out-of-pocket expense for some diabetic patients for insulin. Now, House Democrat Will Guzzardi, who pushed that through the House, has another idea, a proposal to create a state-level board to review and investigate drug companies to try to find out why they raise their prices and to require those companies to justify their cost spike. That bill fell short by just 1 vote at a committee today, but the sponsor said he's not done pushing for it.
The vote that we saw was a vote between consumers and people who are trying to afford their medicines and a vote for the interests of the pharmaceutical industry. And we saw very clearly who stands where.
The bill was actually not going to do what it was promised. Nobody wanted to give people a false sense of hope that this was going to actually really make drugs more affordable. So, we'll continue to go back and keep working on these issues.
Representative Mazzocchi there, she was a lawyer who would work for some pharmaceutical companies in her line of work. She's also a representative here in Springfield. Activists packed that room out, some wearing shirts that said drugs don't work if you can't afford them. If you're at home watching, you pay for expensive drugs, there are some ways you can fight high drug prices on your own. For instance, you can ask your pharmacist about the cost to find out how much it's going to set you back. You can shop for cheaper alternatives or generics, and you may even find coupons for discounts online through your pharmacy. And in this election year, big 2020 year, a lot of candidates running for office. We expect to hear many of them bring their best solutions to the table. And as this public debate continues, also, state lawmakers are planning to travel the state in recent days with town halls looking to sell their ideas, but also to build grassroots support. Paul?
Yeah, certainly Obamacare, prescription drug prices, all of that's going to be on the table in congressional, state level, presidential as we get closer to November. Mark Maxwell in Springfield tonight. Mark, thanks. Well, Senators Scott Bennett and Andy Menard plan to host a town hall in Champaign on Monday night. That event starts at 5:30 at the Illinois Terminal Building. In other news, video poker kingpin Rick Heidner filed a second lawsuit against the Illinois Gaming Board today. Heidner sued the gaming board last month, seeking $4 million in damages for leaking his confidential information to the federal government. Now, the state's third largest video gaming operator claims in a new suit the gaming board is violating the Freedom of Information Act to improperly release damaging information about him and to deny requests he filed. The state gaming board has not publicly responded to Heidner's claims.
Marijuana remains a multi-million-dollar business for the state. There were nearly $35 million in sales for all of Illinois for February. Not bad for a short month. More than $25 million of that were from people who live in Illinois. Sales accounted for 831,000 marijuana products. And the state is accepting applications for cannabis infuser, craft grower, and transporter licenses. Social equity applicants will get extra points on their application and are eligible for grants, low-interest loans, fee reductions, and waivers. Applications are due by 5 p.m. on Monday, March 16th.
Summer may feel far away, but some are already hiring for that season.
Plus, one restaurant is in need of renovations, how you could help them out.
And the next two games could be the biggest for Illini basketball. What winning both of them would mean.